Why is it 600,000 vacant apartments are not rented in Turkey? I actually have a story to share. I'm Vas, welcome to my channel. Remember to subscribe, leave some comments, ask some questions. The first and most important news. If you kind of follow Turkey but you don't really get into politics like I am, I just pick up few important things. Little things, noise things, they kind of pass by, and today's news become trash. But this is important. Turkey is intending to join BRICS. BRICS is several countries, now many countries, which are not part of the West, and Turkey is about to join them. Whether it is good or bad depends on your disposition, your political views, I suppose. But the fact is, Turkey been trying to become part of European Union for 30 years, and European Union was telling her what to do, and Turkey was doing this and that, but all the time they were telling Turkey it's not ready, or for various reasons Turkey cannot join European Union. So now we have a different direction for Turkey, and that's how it is. The other important news, which most people also, if they're not into politics, probably didn't hear much, but this is important because it is about world economy. No longer dollar is going to be the only currency for which Saudi Arabia sells oil. Very important. But now let's talk about real estate in Turkey. The price is really coming down, and we're seeing you can get some apartments for rather inexpensive prices. In Antalya, prices are higher, but they are somewhat getting lower. However, the rent still staying high, and people asking why. Turkish government is thinking about introducing new tax for vacant apartments, and I think they can pass all sorts of laws. Those laws still will not address the core problem. I have a friend, I have acquaintance who rented apartment in Sarisu, and that's been in 2022, before the whole commotion started in Eastern Europe. He rented it out there, and at that time the contract said something a little bit over 4,000 lira, which is by today's prices is a ridiculous amount. It's just a little bit over $100. And when prices started rising and the contract was coming to renewal, the owner of that flat asked for more money. They discussed, and they agreed that 7,000 lira will be appropriate. Remember, it's in old times. However, very different kind of a complication has happened, and that complication is that apparently the owner of that apartment was also a foreigner, and both my acquaintance and the owner of that apartment, who is the foreigner, were applying for residency at about the same time. In order for that apartment owner to apply on tapu, meaning on property deed, and get his status as a owner of the property, he had to be recorded or registered to that particular apartment. You follow me? And for my acquaintance to apply, he also has to be registered there. My acquaintance was registered there. The owner wanted to register there too, which would be ridiculous. I don't know if immigration would accept this kind of view or not, because it's like two entirely different family lives in the same apartment. That kind of sounds fishy, if you know what I mean. So my acquaintance refused to change the residency and permit this particular person to register there. I don't know exactly details, but my acquaintance claims that his signature was forged, and he was essentially removed from register on this apartment. Fast forward, now time has passed, and apparently the owner of the apartment decided that he wants to have it back, and acquaintance of mine doesn't want to move out. So somebody who is very smart or very twisted, told the owner that if he changes his phone number so he cannot be reached by my acquaintance, and if he changes the bank account by which everything was paid, then my acquaintance will not be able to pay him. He did so, and the apartment is still recorded and still under contract with my acquaintance, because in Turkey the contract law says unless this contract signed off or broken, it's still on. So by the time of renewal, this particular contract continues its existence, and it's essentially like in perpetuity. You have the contract and it goes on unless you break it. So to break it, it's not very easy task either. What happened is that another acquaintance, my acquaintance and this friend of mine, came to visit, and he decided to stay in that apartment, and with permission, because I have power of attorney to manage this particular property, and this friend of ours, he just wanted to stay there for a short time while my friend or my acquaintance is taking care of his child. He is treating him medically, and he is not here in the apartment. So apartment is essentially vacant, but a friend of mine is intending to pay for it, and this particular person stays there. The owner, I don't know by what means, maybe some birds seen the sun in his ears, that there is somebody staying in this particular apartment, and it's not the person who is on contract. So the owner told the authorities about the situation that somebody is trying to take away his property, and there is a law in Turkey. If somebody is trying to take your property on by some kind of means, then there is a law against that. He can come and just take it away. But this is not the situation, because legally I have power of attorney to manage this apartment. This particular acquaintance of mine is paying for it, or he intended to pay for it by all means, and the owner making this kind of a situation where he cannot pay him and he cannot contact him. So he called the authorities. Authorities come and they put a notice on the door, and we have to appear in front of this authority. So imagine this: the guy and his interpreter, the owner and his interpreter, plus two policemen, plus two women. I don't know what kind of rank they are, I don't know what kind of position they take, but I think they're like something of a municipal judge or some kind of arbiter, person who makes decision, investigates to make decision. It was a note to come for the investigation. So this parade, me and my interpreter, another or this friend of mine who stays there, and his interpreter, the owner and his interpreter, and the two women and the two police, we walk into courtyard of the large apartment. It looks ridiculous, but it looks very official, and lots of lookouts, lots of people who want to see what's going on. They're looking through the windows, and so we sit down, and the woman asking me, did you know that you cannot rent this apartment out? And I was surprised by the question, because nobody rented anything out. It was just a guest staying in the apartment, which was rented by the person who is in the contract. And she was a bit of a stupefied. What kind of contract? What kind of owner? I don't know, I'm just guessing right now here, but the owner told her probably that there are some people who moved into apartment without his permission. I think that was it, because when I pulled out the contract and shown her, she was a little surprised, and when I pulled out my power of attorney, she was really surprised. So we had a bit of a conversation, pretty short conversation, and she asked me, do you stay in this apartment? Obviously I don't have my own place of residency. She asked this friend of ours, do you stay there? He said, yeah, I stay there for 1 week, and maybe I will stay for another week or so, something like that. But that was it. And I think she was really getting uncomfortable, because the situation she was described and situation she was in now were two different stories. Nevertheless, my friend who is on contract for this apartment, he is intending to come back, and he actually sent his statement saying like, look, here's the situation. I tried to pay this guy. He changed the phone number. He changed his bank account. So I'm glad that at least he showed up for this kind of hearing, because now we know what is going on. And 3 days later, I went with my interpreter to the courthouse, Nufus, which is a register office, and we were given the decision which said like there is really no grounds for further investigation or any action, because everything is within the law, everything is legal, everything is straight, and the only action which this particular owner can take is take my friend to court and try to claim that apartment through the court. Anyway, without going any further, I just want to tell you, these kind of situations in Turkey arise all the time because of the law of contract and because of the law how the property is governed. And if you are a property owner, if you're thinking about renting your apartment out, you are either naive or you're very brave, because this kind of situation can go for years. And I know some cases where it did go for years. Many owners, when they purchase the property, they don't want to rent it. They would rather keep it just vacant. In the apartment complex where I live, and it's a really small one, there are only 10 apartments. In that apartment complex, one of the apartments, it's not lived in. It's a person who is of Turkish citizenship, but he lives abroad and he comes here every so often. There are 2 apartments which are rented out, and there is one more apartment which is rented out, but people who rented it, they never there. I don't know what's the deal. Maybe they moved out. Maybe it is the same situation as a friend of mine is in right now, or whatever that is. I'm just saying that it is very difficult for the owner to manage the property on these kind of cases, because when the dispute arises, it may take years to resolve. And if there is a problem with unemployment, if there is a problem with the family, if there is some kind of other complication, then those circumstances, they can be in favor of the renter, and he may not be able to move, or he doesn't want to move, or whatever other reasons, and he will be living in that apartment for a long time. You could raise the rent only so much. From what I've heard, starting this year, you can rent it by as much as you want, but I cannot tell you for sure if that's the case. Beware, if you buy an apartment and you're thinking like, oh, I'm gonna have several properties which I can rent and make some passive income, as most people today really looking for. In Turkey, this particular type of passive income may be very costly to you. I'm Vas, welcome to my channel, and stay informed. Good luck.